before I throw it open and make sure the challenger is paying more attention to our discussion, just so that we know where content is headed. And Bhaskar, again start with you, because Prashant said everybody will be owner of the content or creator of the content. LV said, no, you will still have three players giving their expertise despite egos, no egos. The question is, at the end of the day, how do you see content evolving? How do you see media houses changing that, if assuming they are the top three, how are they changing their style to make sure that content is adhered to this pull factor and two-way traffic?
What is most important is that if you have understood or decoded the relevance that consumer is looking at, and do a co-creation process where you are perhaps creating it, but then people come on their own. You know, Twitter is a classic example when a young kid says, if news is that important, news will find me. It's a fundamentally sociological shift where the news is chasing to find the user, as opposed to user is trying where is the news. So actually technology has ensured that there is a conversation already happening about you as well as your channel in the environment. Now, do you want to intrude into it? Do you want to participate, learn from it, contribute? That's the right attitude. Now, that's an important one.
And it is not taking away from the content anyway.
Exactly. So you do your job well. In fact, people will come and participate with you and further improve the quality of engagement.
So what you are saying is, stick to your core competency and let the consumer, the catch me if you can element of it, dictate the terms right now. Yes, Prashant.
Let me give an example of this already happening in the movie industry, for instance. Today, the biggest number of movie producers are still independent creative producers, right? But at the same time, what you see comes to you from 5 or 6 studios. So they become the aggregators. Likewise, you'll have news journalists all across, music producers all across, but you still will have media brands which will become aggregators. And then you will go and define the values of those media brands.
Wikipedia would be a best example for this. So I think
because you are aggregating content. All right. LV, just before I throw it out to everyone to go after Bhaskar or Tarun, depending on who they like more, the question is, for you, how much of these social changes will matter? Because it is the issue of what I want at this point in time. Eventually, if you look at one side of it, it could be a scary world. I want the way the world should be. I mean, this is crazy.
You know, in a country where 70% still reside in rural India, where 30% urban, in that 30%, your 25% is less than 25 years actually. So the interchangeability between the kind of media that will happen will continuously evolve according to their needs per se. From a consumer's perspective, again, they're very clearly rationalized between two things. One is information, second is entertainment. That consumption will be created more by need-based, more than by actually push-based, which is the media.
As Sandip said, it's pull. Tarun, just so that I can try and put you in a spot, who is your ideal customer? Paint a picture, age-wise, social background-wise, who would you want to cater to?
Who wants to be in control, who wants to participate, and who wants something new continuously. You can fit that into anybody, probably slightly younger than older, but as he ages and as you know, the mass of our population moves from one segment to another, these values won't go away. So really, open source, participative, addicted to newness.
Congratulations, I have 200 of them sitting right in front of me right now.
I have to differ with him.
Or you also differ with him?
Because both question and the answer, both are not appropriate. What do you mean by...
You can only differ with him, not with me. I'm in control right now. I'm in control.
But that means, again, you're a control freak, which is out of fashion. How can you say...
You just said the customer is control
how can
freak.
you say, who is my ideal customer? I would say, who is my ideal service provider, period. Who are you to decide I'm ideal or not for you?
But you guys have to run the business. Aren't you scared?
No, but the point is, business will run on its own if your process is right. When you start business as an objective and making money as an objective, that's a problem. Point is, that's an outcome. You can't make an outcome an objective.
All right, fair enough. Great point. I think I have 200 of these ideal customers sitting right in front of us. These are all the catch me if you can category. Whether you agree with Bhaskar or Tarun, we'll find out. Question time. Who has questions for the panel right here? Shailendra, why don't I start with you? Since you were on the SMS while we were doing this, so...
and since you are perceptive.
Yeah, so go ahead.
Bhaskar, you're in big trouble. My question was that is the future sort of heading towards branded content? I mean, is that the solution?
There was a time when there was ad and content. then it becomes in the transitional phase is between mix, Subhash Ghai kind of variety, I hope he's not here, Subhash Ghai kind of variety of so-called product placement you do, which is absurd. The 3G age, it gets completely seamless, and it is not plugging. James Bond, how the brand message gets part of the content which doesn't affect your stickiness. So is branded entertainment is ultimately experience get branded. And so you brand the experience, you don't experience the brand.
All right, LV.
If the branded elements on the screens are allowing the cricket to be watched at less than 5 rupees per home for an entire series, the consumer is welcoming it and getting the volume.
I'm glad you came to this point, and I want to, you were talking about open source all this time. Are we looking at a scary picture about viability of business?
Open source is about predicting consumer behavior and using open source to actually define what your business is going to look like in the future or in the present. So open source is not about letting the business be really all over the place, but taking cues from the consumer on how you're going to develop your business as you go along and keeping the consumer at the center of it all.
All right, Prashant, you have a...
Yeah, I think there are going to be aggregates. There are going to be the equivalent of movie studios in every media vehicle, and they're going to be brands. And coming to sharing this question, my feeling is that advertising has to develop a lot more of finesse going forward. It's not going to be built on a 30-second spot hammered 5,000 times across the TV networks in a period of 3 weeks. That's, I think, rubbish. Yeah. I think probably if it appears even just 2 times, but meaningfully in the life of a consumer, that's the way to go.
All right.
Can I just add to that? So when you talk about branded content or branded entertainment, really, what is the consumer looking for? You know, and in my experience over the years, a lot of advertisers come to you and say, you know, can you plug this into a television serial? Can you plug this into a radio, you know, commercial, or integrate that into your radio content? And they forget to answer the first question is, why does the consumer come to this TV station, and why does this consumer come to the radio station? He either comes for information or he comes for entertainment. And if the brand and the content together can't provide him what he had originally come here for, you're not going to get him. So if the brand is not objective about the fact that this is entertainment here, and if they have to plug this,
then they have got it wrong, basically.
Correct.
All right, Sandip and Amit. Yeah. Please go ahead.
One point.
You are the consumer.
No. I'm just trying to say that free is not a bad business model in the first place. I was talking.
You're not worried about viability in that case.
Viability happens, but point is, when you see linear, obviously you're thinking. Say, for instance, that I met Bistone and I was trying to understand 35 million users and 52 employees. I was asking him, you got huge funding, $55 million in your bank balance. Where is money? He said, you are creating value. And now, God knows whether it will happen or not, but some investor has put that money in that. So I'm trying to say, he knows that exactly the way Google, for instance, getting new source of revenue, as opposed to newspaper or other media companies have a linear source of revenue, it need not be linear. World is no longer linear.
All right. It may not be, but there are examples like Skype who have a wonderful service, but then still find it very difficult to survive